Is anyone surprised that I am being targeted? Is anyone surprised that I am somehow deemed unworthy to speak about American foreign policy? Or that they see me as a powerful voice that needs to be silenced? Frankly, it is expected, because when you push power, power pushes back. I didn't come to Congress to be silent. I came to Congress to be their voice. And my leadership and voice will not be diminished if I am not on this committee for one term. My voice will get louder and stronger, and my leadership will be celebrated around the world as it has been.
And at a press conference just this week, when asked whether she supported Al-Qaeda, that's our enemy. That's our enemy. They are a very serious problem that we take care of, but they always seem to come along somewhere. She refused to answer. She didn't want to give an answer to that question. Omar blamed the United States for the crisis in Venezuela. I mean, think of that one. And she looks down with contempt on the hardworking Americans, saying that ignorance is pervasive in many parts of this country.
Now it's crystal clear why Ilhan Omar is facing real consequences. You can't spend years downplaying 9/11, criticizing the country that gave you refuge and opportunity, and then act shocked when people push back. Playing the victim card like it's a platinum rewards program doesn't erase the record. Is anyone surprised I'm being targeted? No, people aren't surprised, they're fed up. When you repeatedly attack American values and question the legitimacy of the very nation you serve in Congress, don't pretend accountability is persecution. Senator John Kennedy and Rand Paul didn't yell. They didn't smear. They calmly laid out the facts and exposed the double standards. That's not oppression. That's oversight. This wasn't about silencing anyone. It was about standards. If you're going to represent the United States on the Foreign Affairs Committee, Americans expect clarity, loyalty to national security, and zero tolerance for terrorist sympathies, period. If you're tired of watching politicians dodge responsibility and then cry foul when consequences show up, hit like, subscribe, and stay right here, because the full breakdown makes it even clearer why this moment mattered.
CARE was founded after 9/11 because they recognized that some people did something and that all of us were starting to lose access to our civil liberties.
In a town where we have a lot of people who are refugees who have come, some from Somalia, some from Bosnia, I've never heard one of them say that America's a terrible place or be unappreciative of our country. Most of them are thankful. I've met people who have come here from behind the Iron Curtain that got away from communism. They're some of the best Americans we have because they really appreciate how great our country is. And then I hear Representative Omar say, oh, America's a terrible place. I'd love there to be justice, and there's no justice here. It's like, well, she came here and we fed her, we clothed her, she got welfare, she got school, she got health care, and then lo and behold, she has the honor of actually winning a seat in Congress, and she says we're a terrible country. I think that's about as ungrateful as you can get. And so while I'm not saying we forcibly send her anywhere, I'm willing to contribute to buy her a ticket to go visit Somalia, and I think she could look and maybe learn a little bit about the disaster that is Somalia, that has no capitalism, has no God-given rights guaranteed in a constitution, and has about 7 different tribes that have been fighting each other for the last 40 years. And then maybe after she's visited Somalia for a while, she might come back and appreciate America more.
You know, when you argue with a fool, you just prove there are two. And I consider Congresswoman Omar, Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez, Congresswoman Tlaib, Congresswoman Presley, I think is her name. They call themselves the Squad. I consider them to be fools. They hate America. They think America was wicked in its origins, and it's even more wicked today. They ought to be thanking America instead of calling America evil and wicked and racist. But this is America, and they have the right to their opinion. But I don't like to see the president even dignify their point of view. besides that, I think that the squad, as they call themselves, they are destroying the Democratic Party. You know, when your opponent is screwing up, don't interrupt him. Let him go. I mean, just looking at this from a political standpoint, if I didn't know better, I would think the members of the squad were GOP plants. I mean, they think that illegal immigration, socialism, higher taxes, abortion are all moral goods. They think America, Israel, free enterprise are moral bads. That's not what most Americans believe. And that's kind of where I am on the subject. The president has explained his position. He has said, look, here's what I meant. If you're not happy living in America, leave.
Omar laughed that Americans speak of al-Qaeda in a menacing tone and remarked that you don't say America with this intensity.
Omar details 6 statements she made as a sitting member of Congress that under the totality of the circumstances disqualify her from serving on the Committee on Foreign Affairs.
The representative can say whatever the heck she wants, but we don't have to accept it or embrace it. Individuals who hold such hateful views should rightly be barred from that type of committee.
All right, now that you've seen the whole thing, let's be honest. Rand Paul was absolutely right, and he didn't even raise his voice to do it. He pointed out something every normal American already understands. Refugees from around the world come here grateful. Grateful for freedom, grateful for opportunity, grateful for a constitution that guarantees rights instead of tribal warfare. Then you've got Ilhan Omar, who was welcomed, educated, supported, elected to Congress, and somehow still manages to frame America as the villain in every story. And that some people did something lying about 9/11? That wasn't a slip. That was revealing. When you minimize the murder of 3,000 Americans to a vague shrug, don't act stunned when people question your judgment, especially on the Foreign Affairs Committee. That's not racism. That's common sense. National security isn't a group project for people who can't clearly condemn terrorists without adding a footnote about America's flaws. Then comes Senator Kennedy, cool as ever, basically saying what half the country is thinking. If you argue with a fool, you prove there are two. He didn't have to scream. He just laid it out. The squad pushes open borders, socialism, hostility toward Israel, and calls America morally rotten. That's not mainstream. That's fringe. And politically, it's a gift to Republicans. As Kennedy basically hinted, if the opposition keeps running on that platform, you almost don't want to interrupt them. And let's crush this media narrative right now. The send her back chant was not about race. It was about allegiance. If you spend every press conference implying America is irredeemable, don't be shocked when Americans say, okay, then why are you representing us? Pride in your country is not extremism. Expecting loyalty from elected officials is not hatred. Removing her from the Foreign Affairs Committee wasn't a tantrum. It was a boundary. You don't get to question America's moral legitimacy while speaking for America on the world stage. Rand Paul and John Kennedy didn't just win that exchange. They exposed the deeper issue. Gratitude matters. Loyalty matters. And loving your country shouldn't require an apology tour.